I've been asked to do an oil painting technique video, and what I thought I would do is a series of them. With the first video here, I thought I would just do a little introduction on oil painting and the products used and all that good stuff. So I'm going to start from scratch. I've known people over the years who've been afraid to start oil painting because I think it's too complicated. And there are, a few things you have to do, but it doesn't really have to be complicated. There's just some simple things that you need, like the oils and the mediums and stuff. But it's really not that complicated. It's just learning a few things and then going from there. But it's really a lot of fun. In some regards, I love it more than acrylic painting because it does take a long time to dry, which is another thing people go, oh, it takes forever. I like it because if I'm working on a painting, not this one because it really this is like a fail back here for lots of reasons. But I like the fact that it takes a long time to dry, because then if I'm working on one area and I start to work on a different area and I look back and I go, oh, I really want that to look a little different, and it's still wet enough that I can go back and play with that area and get it the way I like it, and then I can move on. So I like that aspect of it. But that's just me. For those of you that don't know, I got my degree in painting and drawing in 1988. I know, I'm old. From the University of North Texas, and I've been working in art since graduation in various forms. I did graphic design for, I don't know, almost 20 years, and I just got burnt out on it. So I quit that, and now I'm trying to get back into the fine arts. I do regret not pursuing that right out of college, but I had to pay my rent, and graphic design was really good at that. So there you go. So what I thought I would do first is just go over some of the basics. The paints. There's different kinds of paints. This one, the Liquitex oil, it's maybe more of a student paint. I would, if I were you, just starting out, get a set of cheap paints. I got this as a gift, and it's just a set of oil paints. They're Van Gogh paints. I don't even know how good they are, but it says super fine quality on the box. Gotta be good. I would just get a small little set until you decide whether you like it or not, because they can be expensive. I bought some of these. They're Holbein paints, and these little tubes were, I don't know, $15. And I looked at one, it was a red that was $80. That was a bigger tube, but they vary in price based on the color. So they're not all going to be at the same price. Just know that. And then this one, Winsor Newton, it's a nice, you could say it's a student and professional grade paint. I actually use this a lot because it's fairly inexpensive, and it's really nice. So this big tube, this tube was, maybe $7 or $8, whereas, like I said, this one was maybe 15. So, think about that. With the paint, you have all of these options to do linseed oil. There's different kinds of oil. I only have the linseed oil because that's what I like, but there's poppy seed oil, safflower, nut oil. There's all sorts of oils to mix your paint with. If you're not going to be working with layers, it doesn't really matter about the fat over lean. And what that means is your first layer, you don't really want to mix a lot of oil with it in terms of like the linseed oil or any of the other type of oil you use, because then the next layer, you want to mix in a little bit more. And what happens is the more layers you have and the more oil you have, the oil will sort of soak into the lower oils. And if you don't get if you put too much oil on the bottom, then it can crack or slough off or whatever, depending on how thick your paint is. So that's just something you sort of have to play with. It's not a scary thing. It's just, you just want to remember that with each layer, you just add a little bit more oil to your paints. That's all you need. More layers, more oil. Fat over lean, whichever is easier to remember. A lot of people use Liquin, I think that's how you pronounce it, Liquin. It's a gel, and I actually just got this today, so I've never used it. A lot of people love using it. It does speed the drying time up, so if you're working on a project and you want it done, or you just, you just don't like it to take forever to dry, you can mix this in with your paints. I'll talk a little bit about linseed oil, because that's what I'm familiar with. I don't really use a lot of the other different oils out. I've never used that Laquin, whatever. Because I don't really work in layers, and so it's never been really important to me to have that fat overlean, because I just don't do a lot of layers in what I've done in the past. So that's what I'm going to talk about. This is also true for the safflower, the nut, maybe the poppy, I'm not sure. But it does protect the pigment from moisture and particles. It also kind of helps bring out the color a little bit, and it helps it flow evenly. Now linseed oil, and I'm not sure about some of the other oils, but linseed oil over time will yellow or discolor. Yellow probably isn't the correct word to use, but it will discolor. But honestly, that could take decades for it to discolor. So I really wouldn't put too much into that unless you just use a ton of it. I just don't think that in our lifetime it's going to discolor. So I wouldn't worry about it. Although they do have some other, it's called bleached linseed oil, which is supposed to work a little better, and you can use other things in lighter colors like white and other yellows. But yeah, I've never used that, and I don't know, but I don't know. I don't like to buy 50 million different things, so I just use the linseed for everything. It's just easier, and I don't have to worry about trying to keep track of anything. There's also other things you can use. It's called a medium, and this one is a mixture of linseed oil and turpentine, and it can speed the drying time up. So some people like to hand mix everything. These are sort of pre-mixed, so you don't have to worry about having a little thing of turpentine and linseed oil and mixing that together if you don't want to, or you can just use the linseed oil. This is where it can get to be a little complicated if just the things that you're doing. But the reality is, it's kind of playing with the material and just discovering what you like. You might be able to find these. I found these in an art store. It's like a starter set, actually. These little containers, and it's just little sample sizes of everything that you might need to start oil painting. There's linseed oil, Gamsol, which is like a mineral spirits for cleaning. But you can also just use mineral spirits or whatever if you want. But look for little things like this where you can just buy little samples or the smallest bottles possible to get until you figure out what you really like. So it's just, and then this one came with a little packet that explains what each one is. And so it's a nice perfect little starter kit. So I would look for that just to help out, because some of these things can be confusing, and a lot of them do the same things. They're just slightly different, like the nut oil and the linseed oil and the safflower. It's just a personal preference. It's like using vegetable oil or canola oil. I mean, it's all oil, and they will all work really interchangeably. It's just what you prefer. For oil painting, I like to use a glass palette, which is what this is. And amazingly enough, this is about, I don't know, 15 years old, 20 years old, and I haven't broken it. I know. There's these little lines are actually the separation of these white sheet on the back. It's cracked. But the glass itself is good, and you can go to the hardware store and get a little piece of glass and, tape up the edges, or, I don't know, for $2 or $3. Or this, I think, was maybe $15, $20. I can't remember now how much it was, but I love it because I like the smooth surface. You can certainly use paper plates, which is what I use for acrylics, and they're great because when they get too thick or whatever, you can just throw them away. So some people don't like to clean up. I don't mind it. It's kind of part of the process for me. And then you want to have a good palette knife. I like this size. I have smaller ones, but this is just good to really mix up the oil and the paint together. and cleaning up and stuff. So I like that. I don't buy expensive brushes unless they're on sale for like half off, because I have a tendency to ruin them. Either walking away and forgetting that I have a paintbrush that's dirty, and it's worse with the acrylics, because once they dry, they dry. And the oil paints, if you forget for a couple hours, you might still have a chance to save it. But I don't buy expensive brushes. It's just, to me, it's just a waste. But you want to have a nice variety. Certainly a flat brush. The round brushes are really for small areas and details, unless you're doing really small paintings. There's all sorts of brushes out there. You can spend as little as $3, which is what this one was, or you can spend as much as, $100 for a paintbrush, which I think is just crazy. Unless you're insanely rich and you don't care, it's just a waste, in my opinion, because I think to a certain degree, you're not going to be a better painter if you have a better brush. The painting doesn't take place in the brush. It's merely a tool. And if you know how to use the tool, you can make just about anything work. As far as your supports go, that's your surface that you're painting on, whether it's canvas or wood or whatever material you want to use. If you're using canvas, I'm just going to have a little small one here. You can buy these pre-gessoed, which is this white finish on it, and it just helps the paint stick to the canvas. This is kind of what the non-primer canvas looks like. It has a natural look to it. I know Francis Bacon always worked on the back side of a painting. He liked using the raw canvas, but I guess unless you really know what you're doing, you want to go gesso. And most places sell them pre-gessoed. I like painting on these boards too. You can get them gessoed, or you can get them just unprimed. But again, why add extra work when you're really not paying much extra for the board, unless that's just what the look you're going for. So they come in, these boards are great because this one is for oils and acrylics. They have some that are for mixed media and some that are for watercolor, in all different types of materials. So if you do see these at the store, make sure you read what it's for. Although I think the ones mixed media, the oil would work fine, but you don't want to get one with a watercolor in it. I'm no expert in oil painting. I've been in art for years and years, and tried various things off and on over the years. And I've been wanting to get back into oil painting, so I'm excited that I'm doing this series, because I think it's going to be a learning experience for me as well. Just refreshing kind of what I hadn't really been playing with for years. And I hope I can, teach you guys something or help you out. If you have any questions or you feel like I've missed something in this first one, please let me know. Like I said, this is, I haven't done this in a while, and I'm sure I forgot to say something about something. I know. And I will talk about this train wreck of a painting in one video. All the things not to do. I guess this is what this is all about. This is a lesson in what not to do. So, and there's reasons for keeping stuff like this to remind yourself. Don't do it again. Well, thanks for watching, and again, if you have any questions, you can send me a message or comment, and I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next one.